There we go. Pretty sure we're live now. Hey guys, hope everyone's doing okay. So yeah, just gonna continue working on this. Obviously, just kind of trying to figure out the general look of this, kind of blocking him out in time for Friday. Because again, to repeat, this is just for like a groom block out to show students the basics of XGen grooming. So I'll be starting that Friday morning. So just gonna see how far we can get in the next few evenings. Tomorrow's will start late, just because I'm going to the cinema after work. But I will be streaming tomorrow as well. So yeah, for now, I'm just gonna quickly lower the music level a tiny bit. Just because I rewatched the video from last night and it's a bit loud. But yeah, so this is where we're currently up to. So this is I think it was 2 hours. The previous recording was 2 hours 15 minutes. We did spend some time recovering from a crash, so this is at the 2-hour mark currently. So it's not bad. It's got a lot missing. Obviously, the shapes, especially at this front, is very basic. But as a whole, it looks like hair. It's not a million miles away from presentable. So I'm just gonna kind of get on with it really. If you guys have any questions, obviously feel free to ask. I'm not afraid of answering anything like complex or whatever. It doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, so I guess let's just get on with it. And just get into XGen. Drag away this evil button. And there we go. Okay, so what the first thing is we need to address? Let's just get that render open. So I want to work primarily on this front section. There's a lot of issues, especially with the hairline here. It's very sharp. And the kind of parting is far too clean right now, so I do need to break that up a fair bit. I have some ideas to how I can do that, so I might... In fact, yeah, let's do that, because that should be a quick win. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. And then I'll work on this front section, get that looking a little bit cleaner. So stretch this out. I'm using the outliner as kind of a proxy window to hide things in, so I can put my reference in there. Cool. So, parting wise, let's just have a quick go with that. So I'm going to put a hair guide here and just quickly reshape that, just so it's not too wrong. Okay, so that's still enabled. Put it like this. In fact, how small can this go? Okay. So let's just get this out of here. I'm not too worried about shape right now. I just want to get the guides in that area a little bit more even in terms of spacing. So we need a guide here. Phone's vibrating a lot. Where can I put that? It'll be a bit quieter. There we go. So this looks like he needs to kind of go up and over the other hairs. So let's just pull him backwards a little bit. Like that will do. Let's just get another guide in this region. So I'm just gonna, on the screen, I'm just placing my finger to see where I want the next guide to go. And I will delete this guide in a moment. For now, I'm just going to use that as kind of a marker. Something like that. Delete this guy now. And where else do we need guides? Looking at this region right now. So we do need these hairs here to be pulled forward to get this kind of shape, which does look interesting actually. And then the hairs back here look like they do just go sideways like this. Will there be a recording of this to watch later? Currently at work. Yeah, so the reason I stream to YouTube is because when the stream is finished, it automatically gets uploaded to the account. So just go into my YouTube channel later and it'll be there. Or should be there. I doubt it'll get, I doubt it will not go up. Never had that happen before. Unless I have to take the video down for any reason, but that rarely happens. Let's just quickly fix that guy. Okay, so we want these guides here to do something a little bit more interesting. No worries, man. Enjoy work. Obviously this back is awful right now, but we'll be getting back to that later. I also want to duplicate some guides over. Primarily these ones, so let's just select all those, make sure it's not back here selected. And I want to mirror those over. Okay, select this guide. And he needs to sweep back a bit quicker. I will turn lock left back on for this. Though he does feel a little bit long. Now, see, we do want to adjust these, even if it's slight. We don't want them to be identical on both sides. I mean, it looks like it actually curls forward a lot more in this, so maybe let's do that instead. Something like that will do. I guess this needs a little bit more of an interesting shape though. That works. Okay, so let's start breaking up this parting a little bit. I'm going to see if I can find some nice ref. This is interesting, but it's not exactly what I want. This is our main ref, just to confirm. Because obviously his hair does change throughout the series. With passing of time and all that sort of stuff. And also just different conditions. Yes, we'll get back to that later. Well, it looks like the ear is fully covered on this side, so maybe I do need to sweep this backwards. It's only this side that falls forward. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll do the hairline. And we'll get there eventually, I swear. Let's just do this. Something like that will work. Let's just normalize that. Okay, cool. We do want that to flick up, although I think this is the result of noise. We also do have some stray hairs growing back here, so that's a quick fix. Show the scalp, hide the geo. And then just go into this. And with a solid black blur brush. Just gonna save this. Yeah, let's go with them. Cool. Is there anywhere else? We're getting these guys here. Don't want to do that. I don't know if I can undo safely though. Okay, so save our texture, save our ptex. And I guess let's feather the hair while we're at it. That's not what I wanted to do. Can I undo that? No, shame undos don't actually fix anything. I could just smooth. This is an issue. Yeah, we do need to kind of chip that back a little bit. Although maybe it's fine. We'll see. Right, so fixing the hairline. Let's get to that. Or the parting line even. Let's just have a quick look. So, his name. I always forget his name. So I'm just copying his name. I'm going to see if I can find a good image. I am going to do all my Googling on a different screen, just because I don't want to accidentally spoil anything for anyone. So I make sure that all my references, like, you can't really see anything that's happening. Although all of these are not really from scenes that matter. But I don't want to accidentally show, like, ending scenes or anything on screen. See if I can find an image of his parting. That would be helpful if it's large resolution. It's not a perfect image, but it gives us a little bit more information. Let's just search by tools size large. Got that image. Oh, this image might be a little bit better. Okay, it's not perfect, but gives me a little bit more information than the other ones did. Let's just optimize canvas. Cool. So, his parting is quite clean, but I feel like ours is too clean. So what I'm going to do, and something I don't think I've ever tried this before, I'm going to intentionally kind of mess up my region map a little bit. And the way I'm going to do that is by crossing the colors over each other. It's like just having little dots of tone on either side. Not quite like that, but stylus pressure. Okay, well I guess we're doing that then. Okay, so I have no idea if this works. Never particularly tried it, to be honest. Hey G1, how you doing? These will cause issues the further away from the parting they get, just because the guides are going to be freaking out. I also should probably make sure I'm not putting these under any guides, like that, or that. Jesus, I've placed these exactly where I shouldn't. So let's just quickly take that to red. Get rid of you, get rid of you, and just chip away at you. And let's just see if this actually does anything that looks decent. So we just need to quickly go into our first clumping, set up maps, and save. Then we go to our second clumping, set maps, and save. And go to our third clumping, set up maps, and save. In theory, that just gets a few extra things crossing over. It doesn't seem to have done much. We get a little bit of something happening here, where there's like one clump that's kind of being picked out. Kind of does something, but not really enough. I also think I've overly blurred the density map, so we'll fix that. So let's just go in with a soft brush set to black. Okay, then go in with a solid brush and just chip away at the hairs we don't want. Save textures. Kind of works. At some point as well, we will want to do a strays pass, like, not strays, sorry, baby hair pass, where we just get some extra groom on there just to do the kind of baby hairs that sit out at the front. We could do that now if we wanted to, but my hairline might still move a bit, so I want to focus primarily on this section, so let's do that. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Outliner, tool settings, there we go. Okay, so this is what we're going to focus on. So this definitely needs more of a curl than what mine's got. We could do a lineup with a camera, but I'm just going to see how far I can get without doing lineup. At some point though, I will do a, probably with Action, I'll try to do a series where I go through a proper production process with camera lineups and all that sort of stuff. So let's just go in with a sculpt tool. I'm going to grab this clump at the front here. Deselect any guides we got back there, which luckily we didn't get any. Oh, I do need to... oh, it's in the display layer, isn't it? So display. Cool. Let's just grab these guys. And we need more of this kind of thing. So this area is kind of fine. We need to pull this a little bit further over. Turn this off. And we need to pull this over that way. Stuff like that will do. And then I don't see anything majorly wrong with this, but I feel like this front section comes over and there's some that are under that do this. Do you know any look dev artists who I can follow? There's this guy called Michael Cauchy who puts out really mediocre work from time to time. But you can give him a no. In terms of good artists to follow in look dev, Silverwing is one of the ones that comes to mind for me. Silverwing VFX. I can't remember his actual name because he primarily goes by Silverwing, but his stuff is incredible. There's also a guy that was in the year below me at uni. Let me just quickly search his name. Who you might know because you went to Bournemouth, I think. Serban. Oh Jesus. Sorry, Serban. I do not know how to pronounce your second name. I'll put his name in the chat. He does really cool stuff. He's just started as a junior at ILM, I believe, but his stuff is very, very nice. Silverwing VFX is another. Then you got people like Pedro Conti, who he's a generalist, but his look dev work is incredible. Who else comes to mind? Obviously Xeno Pilgrims, but he's kind of on the down low at the moment. But I'll put his stuff anyway. I think it's Pilgrims, or is it Pilgrims? Oh, Zebo. Xeno. Those are the people that come to mind first for me, but there's so many people that are like top level artists. Just put another guide there and correct its shape. Normalize that. Okay, so normalize again. I feel like I do need to start rebuilding these to slightly higher. Let's go 12. Do you have any link to your LookDev tutorials? I don't really do many LookDev tutorials anyway, anymore. I haven't done any in years anyway. So, sadly no. Obviously there's my streams, which I do quite a lot of LookDev on. But I wouldn't say they're tutorials. I'm overly forcing this section, but I don't really care. It's fun to do this sort of guide work from time to time. Oh yeah, I just saw your comment in. Yeah, it's a really cool series. Please don't put any spoilers in the chat though. I've seen it and I quite enjoyed it, but I just don't want it to be spoiled for anyone else. See, this clump here that's kind of crossing over everything, I'm aware that's coming from noise, but I really like it, so I might manually add it back in later. So, what's the next bit we will work on? This area in general is the worst, but I don't want to go for that yet. But it's feeling a little bit better. The strays do need to be a bit more pronounced. Like if we look at the ref, you can see some that's sticking out more than mine do. So let's just go into our strays noise and increase the maximum. I'm going to put it up to 2, so it's at 25% more. So we do get some that are going crazy, but not really enough of them. Let's change the seed as well. I had one there that was kind of cool. I like that one. Oh Jesus. Okay, let's change the seed for the magnitude. There we go. So I think the hairline is one of my major issues. So let me just have a quick. So something I am going to search again off screen is the actor's name. I want to see if there's any pictures of him with shorter hair. So his name is Lee Jung. and Lee Jung Jae, that's it. So I just want to get a general look at where his hairline is. If I can find any of him with short hair, it'd be really good. So you got images like, let's just create a separate section over here. You got images like this one, which are helpful for the top hairline, but I want to see some more from the side. This is kind of okay. And what else? Young Jae, I do need to search for higher res images. I sort of see the side of him. It's sometimes quite hard to find images where you actually get a proper look at someone's hairline. Obviously it all varies on the hairstyles that they've had over the years. Some people it's really easy. So yeah, I'm not looking at the chat at the moment. I've just got Google full screen. I'm just looking for images. I'll have a look in a moment. But yeah, I apologise if anyone's typing stuff right now. Why is it so hard to find pictures of the side of this dude's head? Okay, let's search profile view. See if that gets better results. Yes, that's exactly what I need. Where'd it go? No, please. There we go. Let's crop that. Okay, so these are the hairline references. Which obviously mine's completely wrong. It needs to come further forward over here. So let's go into... I can open YouTube. Oh, I've missed a few comments. How to stop the hair going into the head. More guides. There's no tricks, I don't really think. Just moved to Toronto. Have you moved yet? We've not moved yet. We moved roughly mid-November. And yeah, cool. So let's get into that channel box. Okay, so hard to tell sometimes if this needs to go, if this corner needs to go back or if this needs to come forward. Mine seems vertical and his seems like it tilts forward, so I'm leaning towards it having to come further forward. I should do that symmetrically. How to get Houdini hair into Maya. Alembic would be the best way, but you're better off asking people like Jesus Fernandez on that sort of question, just because I don't really use Houdini. I don't have a Houdini fur pipeline. So, can I view the head and this map at the same time? I can't. Okay. Oh, actually I can, I just need to do it like this. Cool. So obviously, like, these aren't modeled to be the same. Like, this is not the same face, but I can use, like, so his brows are where it comes to. So I think, yeah, that needs to be chipped away. So let's just go in with reflection turned on. So stroke, reflection. A solid brush for now. Found a side view. I've already got that image in my reference. Where is it? There it is. So I need to see him with shorter hair. I think this image is better for the reference I need. Hey Mike, have you ever tried human hair with Yeti other than the beard in your project? Yeah, I have. I hated every second of it. But I have done human hair. Sadly, I can't show you because it was for a pitch project. Okay, so let's pull this further forward. That. And then something like that is what I need. Brush, the smooth brush for some reason, or blur brush, is really huge. Also the radius is really large. That works a bit better. I think we are... I think I do need to chip this back a little bit more. I mean, this angle... Actually, no, that was the wrong step. Let's do something like that. Let's round that out a little bit. So I'm just trying to find the right shape. Something like that works. And then his hair has quite a point to it. Something like that works. I can argue that this needs to come back a little bit, so let's just smooth that shape out. But yeah, Pogo Thunder, do you have any questions about Yeti and human hair? Or was you just wondering if I've done it before? That feels better. Of course, now I need to check where my guides are relative to that. They're literally on the edge. He's way off though. So let's adjust him. Okay, where else? You need to come back here. So obviously now I need to readjust those. But that will do for hairline, I think. So let's just get into the channel box editor. Oh. Cool, and let's start adjusting this stuff. Lock length view. Oh, back I found a better one. Yeah, I need it with. I mean, that reference image is good for the actual groom, but I was. Sorry, this was responding to Becca. That image is good for the actual groom, but I was looking at the time for hairline stuff. However, this is not a spoiler, so I can drag this over to here and use that for later. So just crop this. Can use that for later. Obviously, the hair is a bit different. It's a little bit messier in this, but still helpful. Thank you for that. No questions in particular, I just wanted to ask. I read a few times, it's not very great for that. Yeah, no, Yeti is awful for digidoubles. I've never had a worse grooming experience, honestly. And that's including my time with N-Hair paint effects. Which my first digidouble grooms were N-Hair paint effects. So that's what pain feels like. And Yeti is worse for digidoubles. It's just really unpleasant to work with. You need a preposterous amount of guides, and the way that it treats clumping, even with the latest version, just doesn't work that well for human hair. You can get good results out of it, just like you can get good results out of any groom tool, like Blender or N-Hair or even Cinema 4D, I'm sure. But it's just not a very friendly tool to work with, as in Yeti. Okay, so since Becca found that really great image for side views, I'm going to work in the side view. Have you ever used Shaven Haircut? I haven't personally used it, no. It's one of those tools that I'd probably try it out at some point, but I've never used it. At this point, I've not used it. Okay, so this needs to go backwards like that. And that's at like just above brow level, so this needs to come a bit further down. Obviously this hair is now a lot longer than it should be. We do also have the issue of these are coming quite far back, so actually this should be further back. So let me just scale him to fix the length. And then turn on lock length. So we're gonna move this way back. Like this way back. And just allow that to kind of meet up with this guy. Okay, then select this guide, and he wants to go like that. So he wants to kind of meet with this as well. Yeah, these hairs are too short, aren't they? Thanks for the feather vid, by the way. Do you have any general resources, feathers and birds? I want to get into it. It seems like pretty hard, especially when some birds have so many different feathers. In terms of, I've not really seen any like great tutorials for like beginning to end of birds. Yeah, it's very specialist. It takes quite a while to get used to. I don't personally feel comfortable making tutorials on it, because although I've done it, I've only ever done it with proprietary tools. Like my time at NPC, I did it with Fertility, which is their proprietary tool. Did a few birds with that, which looked okay. But I've never done it with public tools, so I don't feel comfortable making a tutorial. Okay, so we're gonna want... You're next, right? So... Yeah, these definitely need to be longer. Just renormalize that. Found a few feather sites that show the feather layout, but it's confusing when it comes to placement. Yeah, placing feathers is really difficult, especially when it gets like the coverts. Like they're really, really hard to get right. Okay, so this should go sideways a lot sooner, I feel. Which means this guy should go a bit sooner, I guess. 'Cause it's all like pointing backwards over here. Including you, you can't get away. Normalize. It's still going that way here. This is the shape that doesn't make sense to me. There's just so much going on with this detail. We do also need this to go like that, which means you need to do a similar thing. Is that seriously what it needs to do? It's just so crazy. You're kind of not doing what you should. I must have grabbed that by accident at some point. Let's, oh, Jesus. Let's put this next to that image. In fact, let's move you over here. You here. Can size you up a little bit. Are these the same scene? These are the same scene. That's really helpful. Okay, so you're this guy, I guess. So let's fix that. I'm going for this shape here. This needs to kind of curl down into it. So you should be just kind of sticking out, right? Because it's all going backwards there. So that should just be doing something like this. So I'm going to have it flick this way. So it's almost like a parting thing happening here, where some flick out and some flick in. This area is going to be a mess. We also need more guides in this region to help define it. So for example, a guide here to help separate these two regions. That's this guy, right? So he actually should come up and over this guy. Let's have this hair dive in to this. Hey dude. How you doing, man? And also welcome to the stream. I don't think I've seen your name in here before. Need more in this region. Which makes sense, because this region is an absolute nightmare. And we do need to move on to below this bit to help that out as well. Do something like this. How are you? I'm good. Just kind of getting on with this Groom, really. Hoping to have it done by Friday. I feel like I need to extend this guy a little bit. Something like that. Then here, let's get another guide in here that's doing something a bit more. I think this needs to kind of follow these a little bit, but kind of complete the transition to point down. So I'm thinking of this area more like a corkscrew, where it kind of does this on itself, which actually makes me want to change this. So that'll be like point in. So that would be the one that completes it. So now it's just a case of getting more guides in that follow that shape. Let's rotate that a little bit. Let's scale it. Then this is where the hairs just go down. Or out even. Need a guide here. And that will pull more hairs out. This way. We're losing length again. So one of the things to do, like in Yeti, is how you can paint length. So you can make sure all your guides are the same length, and also interpolates with length in consideration, which is quite a nice feature. As in, like, it looks at the length attribute and interpolates that, so that if the guides average out to be a shorter length, it will kind of automatically compensate. Make sure you don't accidentally create any guides that are too short. Gives you technically less control, but it also takes one extra thing off the things you have to manage as an artist. Which is always a good thing in my book. Copy that guide shape. Is he about to get longer as well? I think he did, yeah. Okay, so somewhere along the line we've lost quite a lot of length in these guides. This region's a bit crazy. The length difference between these guides is not nice either. So let's just scale up these ones. Something like that. A little bit more uniform now. This guide is wrong too. Do something like that. Maybe he can be the point at which it separates the flows. Quickly show the groom and we'll see where the parting is. So it ends here, so let's just get that right there. Okay, do we have any good views of that? That'll be the best one we have, right? So it looks like it just dives backwards. Does anyone in the chat have any questions? Anything you want to ask about? Kind of gives us a talking point while I work. Because I don't really mind working and talking at the same time. It's something I've gotten used to over time. Let's kill that out. Do the same with you actually. Let's get a guide there. And he can be what completes this region. He's way too short. What's your favourite type of hair to groom? Honestly, this type of hair, the kind of wavy, like medium length wavy hair, because it gives you a lot of opportunity to do like cool flows and shit. That or just general fuzz, because fuzz is something you can like mindlessly do. And first off together, any thoughts on new groom tools from Houdini 19 reveal? Isn't it basically just Groom Burr? Like, I don't really use Houdini, but it looks like the node they've added is literally just Groom Burr. But like not officially Groom Burr. I'm a Houdini outsider though, so I don't know what the technical difference between them is. That's what it looked like to me. It looked nice though. But then if it looks like Groom Burr, then it is nice. Just by nature of being what it is. Okay, so let's get a guide right there. And you're going to help me smooth out this section. Didn't want to do that. But this needs to change. I'm not sure how. Maybe something more like that. So this bit down here needs to also be pushed out. That looks ludicrous though. Let's go into the guide tool, put turn off, magic fall off. So we need to create some separation in this area now. So the way to do that would be to add a guide, I guess here, and this one 100% follows what these guys are doing. We need a guide in here to figure this stuff out. So this can be the last of the up curves, although that's going to be a bit mental. So maybe that should be the first. So the render, it looks so nice. Thanks, man. Hopefully the render from today will look nicer. Although it's diminishing returns, like the first 2 hours always have the biggest change, obviously. I'm a lot quicker at blockout than I am at refinement too. Plus I'm working a lot in the back of the head right now, which does nothing for the actual final image. For Groom demo reels, is it necessary to include animation simulation? I'm not very good at animation, not sure if my PC can handle it. Animation, absolutely not, I'd say. And my reel had animation in it, but that was from group projects. I don't imagine ever requiring... I don't imagine I'd ever require animation in a Groom reel. Obviously it depends on the studio though. There are studios where the Groom team also handles simulation. However, you find at most major VFX houses, the Groom team only handle the asset itself. They don't actually handle how it moves per se. Like you'll do a little bit of setup for the simulation team, but then they do the actual shot work. So I wouldn't say it's necessary. Just make some really nice Grooms, is what it comes down to in essence. It's starting to look a little bit better. Okay, so something else I want to do. Let's just go into this. Clumping 2. A little bit more definition of the roots. And I guess same with clumping 3, but a bit more so. Clumping 3 is like a super small final layer of clumps. It does that. But we don't need that. Make the hair a little bit more clumpy. Back here we need more clumps. In fact, I feel like we need guide clumping to an extent. Let's just see what clump 1 does. Just see without clumping as well. Without clumping doesn't have intersection, which is normally a good sign. But also, well, here's fucked. Here needs a lot more work. But we'll get back to that. So this is currently set to 0.75. What if I set to guide? Yeah, I may need guide clumping in this case to help me kind of define these shapes. Or I can just do a lot more guides, which is generally the way I like to go, is use more guides rather than do guide clumping. Yeah, let's go that path. So that was set to 59, right? 58 is close enough. So see, this area is fucked, but we'll get back to that. This is kind of fucked too. So let's fix that. I just need these hairs to be a lot more vertical. Okay, so that's feeling a bit better. They're far too vertical. Why do you do more guides versus guide clumping? Guide clumping for me always feels artificial. I feel like guide clumping takes more work to get it to feel natural than not guide clumping. Okay, so where's the parting at? Let's get a guide in right there. Fix this guy up. So these are too vertical. So I guess the easiest way to fix that is to shorten this or pull that back. I'm going to go with pulling that back. Same with you. Feels a lot better. We need to guide in here too. Yeah, I mean, the guide clumping versus extra guides thing, just to kind of reiterate, is... what's the word I'm looking for? So there are artists who can get really good results out of guide clumping, and there are artists out there who also do like ludicrous numbers of guides, and that's why they guide clump, because they're basically placing individual clumps, and it does give you more control to do guide clumping. I'm not going to dispute that in the slightest. My kind of, I'm not going to use the word philosophy because that's like up my own arse, but like my kind of attitude to it is like, I accept that as a person, I am not good at making things look natural. Like, I'm just not. It's not in my skill set. And to be fair, most people aren't. People look for patterns where patterns don't exist. My thing is to make things overly flowy, like all the time. So because of that, if I do guide clumping, I'm going to be looking for shapes that simply aren't there, or I'm going to connect to shapes that aren't there. So I prefer to remove control from myself. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, just let randomness sort it. It's more, if I do a lot of guides, I'm forcing it to do general shapes that I like, but the actual shapes that come out of it are still based on like kind of randomness. And that's what I want, just because if I have full control over the shapes, they'll always feel fake. Like, I've never personally done a groom with guide clumping where it felt real, including professionally. Like when I've spent literal months on digitables, I just straight up don't use guide clumping. I find it's just a bit too much. And even when you're matching like clump for clump, like you do in companies like NPC, for some assets anyway, even when you're going clump for clump matching, it's still sometimes easier to do it procedurally. Just because, although they don't line up perfectly, they feel nicer. It's more kind of natural shapes. But again, that's just an opinion. It's not necessarily correct to do it that way, nor is it necessarily correct to do it with guide clumping. It's preference at the end of the day. But my preference is very cut and dry. I know how I like to work. Damn, it looks so good already. I say it's done, you can start the model now. Yeah, it's kind of funny working on this head, isn't it? Yeah, and it's still quite a long way to go in my eyes for the Groom. It's kind of at that like 50%, well, maybe not even 50%. It's at that early stage where it's starting to get the shapes now, but it's still not matching by any stretch. Where was the area? I think this was the area. Yeah, this is where it's all happening. So let's pull that in there. So this is the area that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to pull that out and have it meet up with this guy. That's going to give me issues later, but I don't want it just to be completely concave in that area. So I'd rather fix this now, or like figure this out now. Something like that will do. So then let's get a guide here, and you're just going to go around these guys. So it's kind of like there's a hole in a larger flow that this is going through. Let's normalize this. Cool. And I'm currently doing something really bad, which is grooming based completely on instinct for an area that doesn't make sense, which is not a good habit to be in, like, at all. Like, if you don't understand an area, you should consult ref rather than try to figure something out like this. But I'm grooming this mainly for fun, and again, the whole point of this groom is not meant to be like a perfect one-to-one match. It's more just to introduce students to the basics of grooming, and I think I can do that with a groom that isn't perfect. Just to kind of show them, okay, this is like the challenges you get when you're grooming based on non-photo ref or like non-lined up reference. Teach them how to come up with that, because most student projects, they don't really have the kind of planning in place to do proper photo shoots for reference, or they're doing characters that simply don't exist, so they can't do photo refs like that. So I'm targeting what I teach to that. So maybe this guy, maybe I can make this make sense. Just normalize this. Yeah, that works a lot better. Just grab this guy. I'll play in the stream about 9 o'clock. Just to give a general idea. Okay, something like that. Then let's get a guide in here. We're going to come with these guys. Set on the surface. Pull up. Lock length. Normalize. I need to hotkey all this stuff. Definitely missed XGen while I've been working with Yeti for the last like almost a year now. In fact, it has been a year. I've started getting like Facebook memories popping up for the Sticky Monsters project, and that's the one that I started using Yeti. I'm quite fond of Yeti though. It's got some really nice strengths to it. And I feel like it could easily be my main groom tool for digidoubles if they fix just a small handful of things. Which is the guide interpolation. Basically the way that it treats it, it averages it too aggressively. So like with XGen, the hair will follow the guides. Like any hair that generates at the root of the guide will follow it perfectly. Whereas Yeti seems to average it out with all the closest guides, which XGen does as well, but it weights it based on distance to a guide. I'm not sure how Yeti does it internally, but it just results in something that isn't as nice to work with, which is obviously a shame. Might do a draw over for this later. Okay, let's get a guide from in here. Come with me. Analyze. Let's get a few more guys to copy the shape from that guy, because that could look quite cool. This is the sort of thing that I want to do when I want to define a shape, but I don't want to use guide comping. This is the sort of process I go through, where I get a few guides that just follow each other, and that kind of weights the region. That kind of pulls things together for you. Okay. So this region is obviously the weakest right now, the top of the head. We're starting to get this stuff. It needs to curl up more, and it needs some larger clumps to kind of define it a bit better. I mean, this region in general is the weakest by a mile, to be honest. I think this needs the biggest rework. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow, is just rework this region and this one. For now, I think doing the peach fuzz, not peach fuzz, sorry. I'm not doing peach fuzz as a mannequin head. I think baby hairs should be the bit I do now, just to get them in place. So let's create that groom then. Let me just drag this onto the screen for now. Oh. So I'm just going to go into action scalp and go description. In fact, I'm going to save before I do that because I haven't saved in a while. Okay, description, create description. This one's going to be baby hair 01. Description. Placing and shaping guides. Okay, let's get that in there. So I don't actually have any reference for this. I'm just going to make something that looks fun. There is some stuff here that I could take reference from, so I'll use that primarily. This is a lot cleaner. It's also not really baby hair, it's more of a strays thing. But we'll see what we can do with this. So I'll just put Wacom. Oh, Wacom pen even. Right, so stretch you out. Normalize, and let's rebuild it to something like 8. Copy guide shape. Paste guide shape. scale that. Should rename this description. Can you rename descriptions? Not really. Or you can copy a description, right? Duplicate description. So you can duplicate to a different name. I'll get the guide's place first, then I'll duplicate it to a different name. I'm going to call it hairline. Okay, so let's just, for now, throw that in. Let's duplicate description. Okay. Oh, that's not what I want to do. To hairline. Okay, now we can delete baby hair. Okay, let's just quickly, so that should be set to like, I don't know, let's go 25. Okay, lower than that, 10. Then set you to like 16. Width, add a 0 there. Turn off tube shade. Assign the correct material. Cool. And then just go into this guy and create a map. Hairline 01 ask. Okay, so we know the hairline is symmetrical, so we can just paint along it. Although I could work asymmetrically for a little bit. Let's see. For now, let's just do that region and turn off reflection. Okay, something like that will do. let's also add a clumping. Something like that. Why is it not letting me add any tools? Or add any guides? Well, let's do a quick test render while we're at this point. Just go into preview and output, make sure this Groom is set up. Nice. Okay. So let's save our scene. Export patches for batch render. So, I need to figure out why that's happening. I've got a camera in this scene, which just refuses... let's rename it. Portrait cam. Yeah, it just doesn't appear. What could be causing that? Because it is registered as a camera. Something going on here that I'm not too keen on. Need to fix that. Stray's a bit crazy too. A bit too crazy, that is. So will you let me change to... See, why will it render through top shape, which is an orthographic camera, but it won't render through the correct camera? I'm gonna create a brand new camera. So create cameras. And camera is the options. Okay, so this is called camera 1. I'm going to inhabit camera 1. I'll set the focal length to, let's say, 80. Frame it kind of like that. And then find out go perspective. Camera 1. Distance to that is 100 and 11. So I'm gonna set that to 112. And camera 1 is there. So now let's compare that to front cam. Oops, portrait cam. Yeah, it's not a million miles away. So we can delete you now. For some reason it's just not reading it. Let's grab you and rename you. Why do you not have a transform? There we go. Portrait cam. Of course, there's one already in the scene. There we go. I wonder what was causing that. Super strange. Okay, so the strays were a bit much, weren't they? So let's calm those down a little bit. And we'll just view it through this camera for now because we can see the issues. And then we need to fix the hair on this side. Doesn't really look much like this. Same with this side as well. Needs to flick out more, cover his ears. And then we'll focus on this section back here. Okay, so X-Gen. Go to modifiers, noise free. Just quickly disable that. Yes, that is our strays. Frequency. Well, let's set you to be more subtle. So I do need some bigger strays in there though. Let's set... I'm gonna get rid of the seed because I don't need that. Set you to 2 again. Okay, so 2 is a bit much. 1.75. And let's just experiment with something quickly. That's a bit more interesting. So okay. So that's the next thing to do. There is a shape issue here as well, where this feels a lot more full than mine. Mine feels like it's missing quite a lot, and I think that's because not enough of my hairs are reaching the bottom, in terms of guide work, sorry. So if I have some more guides pull from further back and reach the bottom, that will help fill this out. And I think this needs to be a little bit less extreme, kind of straighten itself out. Let's just start that rendering for now, unless it's going to hide the guides for that. The baby hair or hairline hair needs a lot more work, like a lot more work. Okay. It's starting to improve. The shape here is wrong. So the primary issue for me right now, if I get the snipping tool up, the classic, primary issues for me right now are if I draw lines over this, this is really fucking boring. Like, it's literally just that, whereas this has this kind of cool sweep. Like, I'm overemphasizing it there, but you can see how it's got a much more rounded shape. Mine's a lot flatter. So I need to fix that. We also need... In fact, I'm just going to paint over this. So, something like that. Round that out a little bit more. And flick that out. There's kind of a rounded quality here. Where it's kind of coming towards camera a little bit. And then it rolls backwards onto itself. Down here it should flick out a lot more. Down here it needs a more solid chunk. With a secondary solid chunk there. This section needs to be straighter, however, I do quite like the shape it's got right now, so I'm actually going to leave that alone. This section here needs to be a bit more full, so like this front clump needs to kind of come over this way a little bit more. This section needs to be fuller, so like way more hair there. You need to pull over a little bit. If I put that off to the side. See what I mean? Like how flat this feels? How much volume this is lacking right now? Yeah, that's the bit that needs the most work for me. I mean, this area in general is still pretty weak. However, the area on the back of the head is also still pretty awful. So, yeah, we've got a fair bit to figure out. I'm just going to take a quick screen grab of that, because something I do get asked quite often is, how does feedback normally look? I can't... Okay, I'm going to have to print screen this. Cool. I'm just going to send that to myself. 1 second. Sorry, I had to hiccup there. And crop that later. Okay, it's a shame I can't use a snipping tool to cover another snipping tool. It just opens the same thing. But that's the general thing, so I need to round this out. Let's open this up. So it's improving. It's not there, but it's improving. Camera's moved, obviously. Cool. So let's take a new snapshot. and save the progress image. Cool. So let's get into that then. First thing I want to fix is this straight line, because it's probably the thing that bothers me most, to be honest. Let's also get a toolbox open. But it's like, the way that I gave feedback to myself there, does that make sense to you guys? Like, do you see how I'm kind of looking at it purely visually? I'm caring less about the groom and more about the shapes and the silhouette. I find what happens a lot when people are new to grooming, at least in the people that I've like trained and taught over the years, is they focus too much on the hairs. Like they think of it as a groom, which obviously it is. You know, we're not stupid here. It is a groom, but they focus on purely the hair to hair kind of interactions. They don't look at the actual shape of it. Like, try to think of hair like a modeler, and that can be incredibly helpful. If you think of it like a modeler. And by that I mean, if you were sculpting this, what would be the volumes that you sculpt in? What would be, you know, what areas would you use damp standard to really cut in a shape? And that's where I add more guides and do all that sort of stuff. That's my general kind of approach that I use. But yes, so enough babbling for now. Let's get into here. And this is the straight line I'm talking about. So let's just check another. So we can actually see it there, but we also need a few more guides before we go doing anything. So we'll just get one more guide in there. Right there. CG learning is only for rich people, true or false? Absolutely false. There's so much free information out there. I definitely wasn't rich when I started. I mean, I'm still not rich, but like, my background isn't the wealthiest, and I was able to learn CG. And there's people, you know, I mean, I can't say that I was poor by any stretch. I had a mum that provided for me very well. But you get people coming from all sorts of countries that have, you know, just the free resources they can find online. Learning absolutely isn't for the rich. University? Arguable. Depends on the country you're in and how much student finance you can get. Like, obviously I got through uni with student finance, I wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise. But things like, you know, there's obviously resources better, but there's things like my YouTube channel where people share kind of all their stuff. There's people like Jason Hill who share all their stuff and they're very skilled. Flip Normals do all sorts of free shit. But to have a good PC to learn, you don't need a good PC though. I started CG on a PC that had a like early GTX card. I think it was like a 2080 or 2085 or something like that, with 4 gig of RAM and a quad-core CPU. A computer like that now you could buy very little money. Granted, you wouldn't be using Arnold or like really much Groom, but you can still learn CG. I think don't get too caught up in hardware specs. Like, hardware specs speed things up, but they don't make it possible, like, to do CG. There's people with awful computers out there who do great work. Like, the computer's just a tool. Granted, again, like, you obviously need a decent computer, but you don't, well, you need a decent computer to render, you know, millions of hairs and do feathers and shit like that, or effect simulations. I'd say you probably need a great computer. But you don't need it for, you don't need a great computer for the basics. You know, learn how to model a face with good topology. You could do that on any computer. Hell, you can even do it on a tablet these days with things like Nomad Sculpt. You can learn how to model. Groom kind of has a quite high barrier to entry in terms of, like, Grooms can get very, very heavy to render. But even then, do a basic Groom, you'd have no issue. In hell, my earliest Grooms, so if I get my ArtStation app. So, some of my earliest Grooms, or my earliest Groom that I've got posted, is this guy. This was NHair and Paint Effects, because it's just, I think this is just as XGen got rolled into Maya. So N-Hair paint effects, there was like 100,000 curves, and although this was rendered on a decent machine, by today's standards, you could buy a machine that would render this very cheaply. It's definitely not a thing of wealth or rich people. Like, you'd struggle if you're in a third world country, but in a first world country with a minimum wage job, you could probably still afford, a PC that's good enough. What I define that good enough is not necessarily the best, though. Yeah, I mean, most of the work I did in university was done on a laptop, which the laptop itself was quite expensive. My mum saved up for like basically a full year to get that to help me through uni. But the spec of that computer, you could buy a laptop with that spec now for about £500, £600, and that's what got me through university, doing all the Grooms that I did and all that sort of stuff. Projects with 5 groomed characters. So it's definitely not a rich person thing. Although I guess it depends on how you define rich. I mean, that would be an interesting question. There's 6 people currently watching. What would you guys define as like an entry level, like, setup? I'm from a third world country. Will we be able to get a job with basic stuff? Yeah, I mean, again, the quality of your work isn't defined by how heavy it is to render. Like, you can make something that looks beautiful that is quite quick to render. You could make something that is absolutely stunning that requires 3 or 4 gig of RAM to render. It depends purely on how you set it up. Like, having a better computer gives you more freedom. Like, I'm obviously, at this point, I'm always throwing in excessive amounts of Groom and loads of instancing. So I end up using, like, most of my RAM. So I do make the most out of a computer that's, taken me a while to earn enough to kind of save up for. But, like, I'm only using that for, like, extra freedom to do, like, crazy shit that really I could work a much more efficient way and achieve the same result. You could absolutely make something that looks good without, like, crazy spec computers. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all art, right? So a good image, like, you could create a good image out of cubes and pretty colors. You could create a nice looking head. I mean, having, for example, one thing that I see a lot in, like, 2D guys is they all rush to get Cintiqs, but, like, you can create beautiful art with an old Intuos or an old Bamboo Wacom even, or just a, is it Huon or Hyon? Yeah, you can, the spec doesn't define the art, the artist does. The spec just kind of frees up the artist to work however they want. It doesn't change the quality of your work. It's like, I mean, to give a different analogy, I play guitar. Buying a nice guitar did not make me a better player. It made me play more, which that made me a better player, but it didn't make me a better player in of itself. But yeah, I hope that wasn't too rambly. But yeah, you can absolutely do that sort of stuff without huge amounts of money. I'm trying to think actually, what would be the minimum requirements for software? Is it possible to move a guide after already placing it? Yep. If you just go into the Add Guides tool, you can go up to a guide, hold Control middle mouse click, and you just drag it, and it will appear wherever you drop your mouse. So that's Control and middle mouse click with the Add Guides tool. It's a very strange way of doing it. The Add Guides tool is actually called the Add and Move Guide tool. Like if I hover over this, Add or Move Guides. But yeah, that's the way you do it. This guide can be pulled a bit further down. Help thicken out the bottom section. Maybe if I pull these further down, that will help as well. Something like that. This area is the biggest bold gap right now, so I need to revisit that at some point. Right. Definitely, I think this is the area I want to revisit most tomorrow. Oh, we need more guides in this area. Really force the shapes in, so let's get a guide there. You'll be the first of the guides that I use. So they curl up, so I need to make sure I get that up curl in there. Let's just normalize that. Where's the hair start? Oh Jesus, all the way over here, okay. Let's get him matched up. Let's normalize that. That almost perfectly interplays to what I want. It's nice. So I guess that points out that all this should actually be flicking out, right? Which frees this area up a lot. So it allows you to start flicking out as well. Let's get a guide in there, right in the middle. Man, I miss Groom sometimes. I do wonder occasionally if I've chosen the right career, because I've obviously shifted into look dev, and I'm about to start a new look dev job, which I'm excited for, because I do enjoy look dev as well, but like, every time I crack open XGen, I just miss it. Like, it's such a fun tool to work with. Doing guide work with some music going is just so relaxing. Getting there. This area is too flat. In fact, this area back here should be flicking that way, right? That would fix the silhouette, because it's currently too pointy there. I feel like I may be required to do some guide clumping, as much as I hate doing it. My hair's currently a bit too clumpy, isn't it? Let's go into noise free. Or clumping free, sorry. That feels better. Excuse me. I need to add a seed to my noise expression. What happens if I volumize? I still don't know what clump volumize actually does. Like, it's such a nothing effect. Right, so we need this hair here to be longer, don't we? Flick that out. And we're going to do the same on the other side too. Did you start your career as a Groom artist and transition to look dev? Yes, my first job was Groom at NPC. And then okay, so my career so far. I started at NPC in June 2017. I think it was the 19th of June was my first day. After doing that, I started, June. I became a key artist, which is like a mid to senior role, but mine was mid. About a year after that, did that for another year and a half, 2 years. Then I went into previs at NPC as a generalist, so I did primarily modeling, a little bit of Houdini work, like height maps and that sort of stuff for environment work, and scattering, building tools, that sort of shit. And when I say building tools, I just mean like making something that would generate environments. After doing that for 6 months, I transitioned into NPC Episodic, where I did some skin modeling kind of for an unannounced show. Then I went to Blue Zoo, where I got the role as a senior look dev artist. But over the course of the year that I've been there so far, I've gone mainly from look dev to primarily doing groom work for the company, setting up stuff for them, and now I'm going back to NPC to do I think it's key artist. I think it's now entering the senior bracket for NPC, the low end of it definitely. But I'm going in as a key look dev artist for Episodic again, to work on Redacted. So that's my career so far, and I find myself missing Groom very often. And my time with the Groom team is also probably the highlight of my career, in terms of like just the people I got to work with. I met some really incredible people during that time. I missed the team, like the golden era that I experienced while I was there was during like Lion King production and Dr. Dolittle. The team we had at that point was just so cool. Like everyone was really nice, everyone was really talented, everyone was willing to share information. Like we didn't make tutorials for each other, but we did do like weekly sessions where we taught each other tricks that we learned, and there was some like amazing stuff. And obviously I'm not going to pick favorites, but there's some people that like I will always want to work with again. And I think that's probably tainted me forever, to be honest, because I'll always miss that. I think that time was the most fun I've had working in CG. And also, you know, NPC was really nice with me. They gave me opportunities to travel to India. I did some training out there, taught the Groom department for a month, or 6 weeks, sorry. And then a few weeks later I was sent to Montreal. So literally in the space of, I think it's 4 months, I spent 2.5 months in other countries. A month and a half in India and a month in Montreal. And now I'm going back to Montreal, so really excited. But yeah, NPC was fantastic. I know they get bad rep online, but I've so far had an amazing experience with them. Hence why I'm going back. But yeah, Groom, maybe one day I'll get back into it. Also, if Dave ever sees this, hey Dave, miss you. Hope your kids are doing okay. Dave is my old boss from when I was in Groom. I know that he very occasionally sees these videos. So, yeah. Something like that will do. We definitely need more guides in this region, because I don't actually know where the hair is. Okay, we need a guide in the middle there. And if I remember correctly, this is at the corner, so here is where the hair should go, or the next guide should go. So this should go kind of further down. In fact, that might be the issue for this region. Let's check there. Yeah, go. Do they flick up? They might flick up. Because that makes more sense to me. Well, it looks better anyway, so let's do that. Let's have it flick up. Yeah, let's flick this all up. Could look quite cool. So first, what I'd clarify actually, just in retrospect, as much as I was just like, you know, saying how much I miss Groom and the team I had, I have really enjoyed my time doing Lit Dev as well. The team at Blue Zoo is going to be a team that I miss as well. Just to put that disclaimer out there, don't want to offend anyone. I have enjoyed my time. I've never had a bad experience, I don't think, in my, you know, time. Obviously I've had like bad days at every company I've worked at, but, or every like job I've worked, but I don't think I've ever had an overall bad experience anywhere. And Blue Zoo, I think, has probably been the most accommodating place I've worked. In terms of, like, if I request a change to my job, they just do it. Like, they are very nice. Just gotta cover my arse there. I don't want to offend people. Right, so this bit, that's the next bit I will work on. So I'm just going to get a load of guides and push them into this little region. I'm going to force a shape. I can't see where the bottom of my hair is here. There it is. Let's get a guide right there. We're going to create one super strong shape. And yeah, I'll be ending the stream at 9 o'clock, so 30 minutes left. Let's see how far we can get. So who's watching right now? There's currently 5 people left. But if there's anyone who's watching who's like new to my streams, do feel free to let yourself be known. I don't bite. I may come across like an arsehole sometimes, but I do try to be a nice person. Okay, so let's do this. Next gen. Okay, so this is where we need the next one. Let's just quickly double check those. Yeah, they're good. Let's just... I really want a super strong defined shape here. Oh. I'm still here, okay. That's one hell of a typo. So Ian, what's your, like, kind of career so far? Because you were, like, when you started watching my streams, you were in uni, right? if I remember correctly. Like you've only recently got into industry? Or am I misremembering that? Because I know you mentioned earlier in Toronto right now. Also, how's that going actually? Is Toronto nice? Does the X in Action stand for anything? I think it's literally a placeholder. As in X generator. So it can do trees, it can do hair, it can do grass. I think the X literally is the whole point, that it doesn't stand for anything in particular. It stands for kind of anything. I might be wrong on that, but that's my awareness of it. Is that it is a stand-in. Although I will check that later, because now I'm curious. I'm pretty sure that's the answer. I remember looking it up years ago. But now the problem is I don't remember if I'm remembering it correctly. This is really messing with my vision right now. One sec. Let's get a hair on that corner, and then let's do the same over on this side. So there it is right there. I'll let him stay default for now, because this one was the most broken. From all the public tools, which one has the best interpolation? Without shadow of a doubt, Action. Ornatrix gives you options though, but I haven't personally used it. And it also depends on usage, I guess. So. Of all the public tools, I would say Action has the best interpolation overall. Yeti's is really nice in terms of the way it interpolates means that for short fur you can get away with using very few guides, and it interpolates in a very pretty way. It kind of does work for you, which is half the issue, to be honest. Ornatrix gives you multiple options, so it can use weighted interpolation, much like Action. It can use completely linear interpolation, which is my preference, to be honest. And Houdini, much the same, can be set to interpolate in different ways, if I remember correctly. But out the box, Action. Makes sense. Is it often used for grass these days? Action? Sometimes. It is sometimes used for grass. Although most Groom tools do get used for grass at some point. Grass is one of those things that it's, by its very nature, very complex, and it's also basically just fur. So Groom tools get used very often. Okay, so let's just get our Groom visible again. Okay, so this area back here I need to flick out. I think that'll be the last thing I achieve today. So let's just throw some guides in there. Right here. Just kick him out this way. Doing a long-haired tail was not nice in Yeti. Yeah, no, tail... in tail grooming, to be fair, in most things is quite difficult, just because interpolation doesn't generally like cylinders, I find. I've not really come across many tools where tails are easy. And a proprietary tool I use is probably the easiest I've had. But yeah, I think Yeti, the way it interpolates, it needs to give options. It really does. And I really, really hate the fact that guide curves, as in literal guide NURB curves that you put in a set, has a different interpolation style from combing. I find that really fucking annoying, because it means you can't seamlessly swap between the two. Which, why would you not want that in your tool? Oh, you're at Mr. X, nice. It's quite funny because me and Becca are joining Technicolor Studios as well. I'm going to NPC and Becca's going. In fact, has she said where she's going yet? Okay, I won't say where Becca's going. It's Technicolor, you know that much. I don't think Becca's actually announced where she's going yet, so I'll leave that for her to say at some point. Although if Becca's here, by all means say where you work, if you're happy to at this point. Oh, sorry, I missed a question there. Oh, I missed a few questions. How do you see Yeti for this kind of grooming? By the way, it's good to be back. Yeah, I mean, in terms of interactive... oh, sorry, that was someone else's question. I'll get to that in a moment. Houdini. So I haven't got a huge amount of experience with Houdini, so I don't like commenting too much on how it compares. I'm fine to say, you know, oh, these are the features I'm aware of, but I don't like talking too much about how good it is. I know that it's a very solid tool. There's a reason that many VFX artists and VFX studios are heavily invested in Houdini now. There is a reason for that, but in terms of use, I haven't personally used it, so I can't say what it's like for this type of groom. But given its feature set and that sort of stuff, I imagine it's pretty great. Because it's completely free, you can work however you want, and that's kind of the appeal. And you can set up custom tools to do anything. Like I've seen quite a few custom braid tools coming out that are very nice. And I think that's the strength of Houdini for Groom, is that it leaves everything wide open. Like you're able to set up your own stuff, whereas tools like Yeti kind of famously difficult to do your own shit with because everything's locked behind like their code. You can't really alter much. Then obviously XGen, you can do stuff like custom tools for it, but it's not really my kind of area. And yeah, so that's my thing on Houdini. Do you use interactive Groom editor? I personally hate interactive Groom. I find it way too cumbersome to use, and I find it encourages bad habits in new artists. To elaborate on that, so basically in terms of issues, I found the Scraggle just never really acts the way that it feels like it should. Like it's never too predictable. Like, well, I guess technically it's predictable. It's predictably not what you want it to be. Clumping again feels kind of cumbersome, but things like you know, when you rechange your density, you can lose sculpting data, things like that, or the fact that it stores the hair in scene saves, which makes the files massive, which for me is a big no-go, because my scene files are already huge. Like my Pero project is currently 400 megabytes per save, and that's without interactive Groom. It would be, you know, pretty high if I had that included. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a serviceable tool. Like, one thing I really want to clarify is whenever I complain about not liking a tool, it doesn't mean it's a bad tool. It just means I don't like it. Like, I guess a good example of that is something like Blender. I do not like Blender's grooming tools at all. I think it's missing far too many features. You don't have enough control over stuff, such as clumping. There's very little control. But there are artists out there who create incredible stuff using it. So, you know, a tool is never really bad, to be honest. There's just better ones from time to time. Yeah, you get artists all the time who use tools that no one else does and get better results because they just enjoy it more. Like hell, like in terms of interactive grooming, Chris Costa, he uses interactive groom on all of his stuff, and like he makes great looking grooms. So So it's one of those. Although I don't think I've seen anyone use interactive Groom to create a good creature. I see a lot of great digi doubles with it, but I don't think I've ever seen a good creature with interactive. Doesn't mean they don't exist, but I've just not seen it. So that'd be interesting to find out if anyone's done nice creature work with it. Bit of interpolation happening here that I'm not particularly keen on. Let's just fill this region. So if I put a guide right there, he's not too bad. So let's just get him in place. One tool I am quite excited to try out at some point is the Wig Groom tool, so like Weta's Groom tool, because they're bringing that into Weta M, which if you haven't heard of Weta M, basically Autodesk and Weta have partnered up to release Weta's R&D stuff into Maya, like as a feature set. No idea how expensive it will be, but that's something I'm quite excited to try out. That could be quite a lot of fun. Just getting to try Weta stuff, because they have a famously, like, crazy R&D department. Okay, that's where you're coming from. I feel Onyx is a bit of a combination of both extra editors. Yeah, I mean, I haven't got much experience with it. From what I look at, it does seem like it is. In terms of like UI-wise, it looks a lot like interactive. But in terms of its workflow, I mean, Onyx seems to be one of those tools that has, on paper, like one of the best kind of feature sets. I don't know why it's not more used. I'd have to try it out to find out. Because from what I hear, it can do feathers quite well. It can paint directly on hairs, which I saw recently. That's really cool. It seems like it's genuinely a great feature. It has tools to automatically fix intersections of the mesh. So I don't know why I don't see that more often. Yeah, it's weird because Yeti's quite recently had a massive hike in popularity. I think it's publicity around Yeti 4 might have caused it, but yeah. Have you and Becca experimented with USD? I haven't tried USD in in-person projects yet. I've looked into it for some professional stuff, but I've never like done much of it. I've just kind of, you know, done little bits of reading up and been in meetings, that sort of stuff. Nothing too exciting. Okay, let's get a guide back here. I think I may have to create a region map. I have to update my region map even. Okay, let's normalize that. Becca, are you public yet with what company you're working for or going to work for? So we were talking about jobs earlier, and I almost said where, but I couldn't remember if you've announced it or not, so I cut myself off. Ian was just asking what we're doing. If you're not public yet, you don't need to say where you're going to. So much averaging. Where are you coming from? Let's turn off the noise here. Is it coming from the noise? Coming from the clump 2 noise, maybe? No, it's not. Okay, so it's a... Let's get on the hairline. Oh, you might be part of the issue. Let's part these a little bit. About jobs, does it only seem like it, or are junior groom positions super rare? I don't think they're rare. Yeah, it's hard to say, to be honest. I don't. Now you said it, I don't recall seeing a junior groom position for a little while. But then groom is one of those roles where it doesn't often say junior. Like, when I was a junior, I was just a groom TD. So I'm not really sure how that works, to be honest. I don't think it's a rare position. Okay, this should be one of the last guides I place. Hopefully. At least for this shape. Because I'm now acutely aware of the fact that I have too many guides in this region. So I want to start cutting down on the amount of guides I add. If I need to add a region map, so be it. Basically, I'm trying to add a little bit more definition between these sections. I'll probably end up deleting most of these guys later anyway. I'll say later, in tomorrow's stream. Which will be tomorrow. Wait, did I just say in tomorrow's stream, which will be tomorrow? Jesus. There we go. Got a little bit more of that definition back. Still not really following it, but it's better. Let's get a bit of that roundness in that I was talking about earlier. All I'm going to do is just turn off volumetric fall off and bump out this section. That'll get the roundness in. It still feels a little bit flat. I think it's this bit here. Hey John, how you doing, man? Yeah, I think tomorrow we'll try to figure out a bit more of the back. In my experience, usually Groom and Garters usually started doing something else, so they're not like a junior. I might be wrong though. I'd say that's relatively accurate. I mean, I think that changed around about the time that I started getting into Groom, because I was hired straight out of uni. Quite a lot of people who were hired next to me were also hired straight out of uni. But to be fair, at the time, NPC was on a mad hiring boom for Lion King, which they did announce publicly, so I can say that. There was a huge push for Groom for Lion King, because Jungle Book happened a few years ago. It had a lot of Groom artists. Then the studio had to downsize because there's no major Groom shows, and then 4 or 5 years later, out comes Lion King. So they needed a shit ton of people, so they were taking on anyone. Like, I mean, hell, me. I got the job when I'd done 5 Grooms total or something like that. I was very inexperienced, didn't really know what I was doing. So their entry level was relatively low at the time. So yeah, junior roles then were definitely a thing. Obviously, people do get hired in junior positions for Groom, because otherwise, as an industry, it wouldn't function. You always need a junior. Juniors are incredibly helpful within teams, in terms of they help you delegate work. Although you have to train them and help them out with a lot of tasks, that's fine, because it lightens the load on everyone else, so they're vital to it. I think if you had just seniors in a Groom team, unless that studio has a lot of money or small projects, I don't think that would really work particularly well. I need to lower this section here. I need more guides, don't I? Delete that, because it's not the issue I'm trying to fix yet. But yeah, in terms of Groom artists tend to be something else. I've found that out of the Groom artists that I've known, most of them wanted to be something else. In my case, I wanted to be a modeler and lit dev artist when I first joined the industry. Well, that was my goal. Groom was a very secondary thing for me. It became a primary thing, and as I said, now it's something that, you know, I consider my primary thing, even though I work as a lit dev artist. it's just the most fun. But like I found a lot of them want to be modelers out of the people that I've known. There's not that many Groom artists who want to be Groom artists, relatively speaking, or at least when I joined. A very small sample size though, there wasn't that many of us at first. It'll be interesting to hear other people's things though, because I might be out of touch with it at this point. I've not been too involved with hiring anyone or anything like that. I don't know what the job market is like for juniors now. I'm not in a Groom team at the moment, so I've not really seen much. Cool. I'll call that done for tonight, I think. So let's just get the Arnold render view open. This again. Cool, I'll leave that to do its thing. Yeah, so unless you guys have any kind of questions you want to go over, this will be the end of the stream. I'm happy to hang around for a few minutes though, if you guys have any specific questions. I'll give you guys a minute because I know there's a bit of a delay usually. You too, Ian. Hope you're doing well, mate. Cool. Well, I'll call that the end of the stream for now. Tomorrow night, I'll be back doing a bit more work. In terms of where to go from here, the shape's getting a bit better. It's still not quite this. And I think the overall texture of the hair isn't right. His feels a lot drier than mine. Mine feels a bit greasy. So I'll try to get that in there. I also do, in this bit's also kind of weak. I do also want to look into percentage shading with Xgen. It's something I've never personally, I've not personally done, so that'd be interesting to kind of look into a little bit. But yeah, so I'll be streaming again tomorrow night. I imagine around 8 PM GMT, something around that. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to message or comment on the video, whatever. And yeah, I think in terms of these quick grooms, obviously, as mentioned earlier, I will be moving to Canada fairly soon, in less than a month. In fact, it's looking very likely I'll be travelling on the 12th of November, so I've got not much time where I can still work on projects. So I might limit myself to just doing quick stuff like this, where it's like Groom studies on a head. So if there's any particular like hairs, like, you know, digitables or something that's not too complex that I could do in a quick series of live streams, by all means, feel free to send reference through. I think there's a link to my website which you can get my Facebook and all that stuff through. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a great evening, and I'll hopefully see some of you again tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.